Shut up and sit down.
It's where the big boys play. SICW.
This conference will now be recorded.
All right, everybody, welcome to Spread Read Podcast. Today, we have, might be a bit of a longer one. We have a couple of matches to go through. Bobby's and Jim's match from the first. Have some WWE to get through. I haven't looked up the numbers, but I'm going to do that now. I've been kind of busy. And how the hell are you guys?
Not too shabby. I mean, besides the match that we're going to go through later, but.
I'm doing great. I can't complain. No one will listen anyway, so all good here.
We'll listen, but we'll do the guy thing and not care.
This time I think normally we start off with WWE news and stuff like that, but I think this time we'll start off with SICW. Yeah, good. So a couple shows coming up. We're going to start off with March 1st. We don't know any information on who the main events are going to be. But there's one.
I say Herb did post one person.
And that's what I was going to lead towards. So one of our friends of the podcast has not been around the local area here lately. But the good news is Strictly Business. Brandon Beretta is coming back, and he'll be on the card for March 1st. Of course, he'll be at the Belleville Fairgrounds. We're going to be actually at the fairgrounds. What is it? January, March, April, May. So I think April is the last time we're going to be at the fairgrounds. And then we're going to go back to Collinsville, back to the Fireman's Hall or the Bingo Hall, whatever you want to call it. But we'll be there because the fairgrounds is still going around trying to fix things up. And supposedly they're going to be in our room that we normally host our events at. So
I don't know. So far, all they've done is destroy it.
So far, you know what they say, it always gets worse before it gets better. So it's definitely worse. The ceiling tiles need to be replaced. The floor is just straight concrete right now. So it can't get any worse. So it's only going to get better. And I know they got a lot of funds to throw at this place. So I cannot wait to see what it looks like. But it might take a few years for the whole building to get all the repairs that it needs to have done. But, I had conversations with Brandon over the weekend because he actually helped me set up the ring Thursday. And he had some practice with some of the older students that we helped train over the past couple of years. So it's good to have him back in the fold. Things are really popping off for him and the NWA. Seems like he is on a one-way ticket to hopefully being signed. I told him, I said, it's just a matter, probably by the end of this year, I feel that he's going to be signed. Billy Corgan. What'd you say?
Probably by summer. He's been going everywhere.
Well, last time we talked to him, he was on his way to Texas to do one of their pay-per-views and their TV program. But this weekend, he was going to Florida. And Billy Corgan and the NWA is paying for him to do all these things. And that's normally the first step. Normally, the first steps are you showing up on your own dime, trying to get on the card. And he's had help with that, working with NWA Exodus. And now he's in the step where they want him to be on their cards. So they're paying for him to come in. I heard they do like a 6-month, what is it called?
Like probation or trial?
No, so they'll sign you for 6 months. That's what I'm trying to figure out. They sign you for 6 months.
Probationary period, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a probational period. But then after the 6 months, if they still feel that you're good for their product, then they'll sign you for a longer period of time, whether it be 1 year, 2 year, or even 5 years. So right now he's in that stage where they want him. So he's going for it. So more power to Brandon. And we get to see him again on March the 1st. So that's great. Also in March, we got the Shriners Show, which is March 29th. One of my favorite shows because I'm their champion 3 years in a row. Hopefully.
I thought it was 2.
Is it 2?
2 years with a belt, but 3 years because one didn't have a belt, right?
Yeah, I think that's it. We've had it done 3 times, and then they made a belt. So I've been the champion for 2 years. So I get to defend my belt. I do not know who I go against, but we do know Danny Dollar's coming back. So that's pretty cool. We were supposed to have him on our January 1st show. They got canceled because of all the bad weather that we had. But he's coming back that night.
You're going to take him to the underground brewery?
It seems to happen every time we're there, so I would imagine so. But one of the matches that's already been signed is Lilith Khan versus Kelsey Magnolia. Now, last year, these two were a tag team, and they were going against, I forgot their name, but they were twins. And it kind of broke down. Lilith Khan ended up beating up the twins and then turned on her partner and beat up on her as well. So this time around, they're no longer partners, so they're going to go against each other. So definitely going to be a good show. I'm sure Bobby is going to be there. Bobby last year was in a steel cage match, so you never know. They're going to bring the cage back. They love having cage matches there. I was in there one with Axe Althwart, I think is his last name. Yeah. So definitely a great show. And again, that's March 29th.
Kelsey's fresh off a Japan tour, so she's probably got some new tricks up her sleeve to bring to Lilith.
Yeah. And then last on the SICW note, we have not a new face, it's an old friend of SICW who's coming back to the Fan Fest, and that is Andrew Anderson. Definitely a great guy here. Last time he came through, he ended up having a big battle with, was it Attila or was it Flash? I know they fought with Flash for a while too. I think it was Flash.
It was with Flash.
Yeah, but his manager that came with him last time, and I forgot his name. What was his name, Bobby?
Kevin Sullivan.
Kevin Sullivan, the great Kevin Sullivan. Unfortunately, he passed away last year, so Kevin will not be with us, but in spirit. Kevin was a great guy. I was actually looking for a picture of him that I think Herb took it, and I was trying to find it in my Facebook account, but I couldn't. But there was this great picture of, as soon as I, of course, we met up at a bar, but as soon as I got there, it was like, man, you're such a good big guy worker, and he just had a whole bunch of information for me. Telling me what to do, what not to do, trying to structure out a better match for me. And to have someone like that, someone who's booked for WCW, booked for the NWA, Florida Championship Wrestling. I mean, this guy's been everywhere. To have him kind of give you his words of advice, I mean, hands down, the highlight of your career, But yeah, so that's what's happened on the SICW. I don't know if you want to roll into some of Bobby's match from this past Saturday. It was supposed to be Bobby winning back the Central States title. Unfortunately, it did not happen. But I'll let Bobby tell the rest of the story as we watch through some of his match.
It's a 2-minute and 12-second clip. It's mostly the outside work, not the finish, not the beginning. If you want to watch the finish, come back to our page and watch the complete match, or go to the SICW YouTube page and watch it there.
Yeah, so I mean, right there, like I knew going into this match, it was a handicap match more or less. I knew there was going to be at least 2-on-1. I thought there might be Trent Daniels, but luckily he never showed up.
You're one of the master of cheaters and Canadian Zero, so.
But I figured it was 2-on-1. I was ready for that. That didn't surprise me one bit. Now, I will say, without saying what it is, the ending had a pretty big surprise for me.
Yeah, and that's not going to be in here, so no spoiler.
But I'm not saying anything more than that. I say, we're past where I gave him a little bit of cake to eat. Thought he was looking a little hungry. You see it on his face there.
Some pretty good. Maybe some cake in the ear hole.
I was trying to get in his pie hole, though. Again, 2-on-1. Like, the whole match is 2-on-1. Like, every time you think you get rid of Vincent, here he comes back again.
If you look at the faces on the people in the crowd, they were loving it.
People always love an up close and personal fight. Like, I'll be the first to say it was an intense match. Like, much as it pains me to say, I am gaining a little bit of respect for Glenn with the amount of punishment the kid can take. But that's it. Nothing about his personality.
He was cursing, and it totally shocked the crowd. That dude you walked by, his face, completely in shock from Glenn cursing. From here, it goes on a little bit more towards the ending, and well, we just can't spoil that on the podcast. So,
but it was a hard-hitting match, a lot of back and forth, a lot of double teaming, and a surprise at the end.
Okay, I'm going to put something else up here, but one of my favorite parts is they tried to get you with that double chair shot again that they did last year. Different result this time.
I saw that coming, and I knew I had to move. Like, that would have been it right there.
And that was talked about. We have gyms coming up where I did slow down some of the footage to half speed because the look on Jim's face when Steve Michaels came at him with that look of, because he's a big old boy coming at you on that turnbuckle.
Big old boy versus big old boy?
Oh, yeah. Big boy. And it just, to me, it was just way too much fun to watch. A crowd, about 320-ish people there.
You know, what's great about this crowd is most of them reserved their seats before this show. And that's how dedicated our fans are. That, you know, I don't even think there was really much any walk-in. I think every seat was reserved. So
275 reserved, and the rest were walk-in.
There you go.
I didn't realize, is he part of Dogtown Underground?
He is. So, yes, he is supposed to be Lucky P's official bodyguard. Now, I did, well, I knew he was coming into town. He, again, was one of those that was supposed to be here on the 1st. So I did do my research on him just to see, you know, what I would, you know, expect. And, yeah, you know, I pretty much got what I expected.
So
that's supposed
the
to be a dog
Underground.
Singlet, huh?
You're both talking at the same time.
The Dogtown Underground has the professionals, which are two of the most technical old school tag team wrestlers around, and then this behemoth and Kowalski.
Yeah.
You see that look? Oh, everyone out of bed.
See that?
Is Jim realizing, uh-oh.
And this group might be bigger and more devastating than Devastation Incorporated at this point.
Yeah.
The only
Here's
thing
another
is,
one coming.
I say the only thing is that the professionals are still out training.
Yeah, so definitely was a big guy versus big guy type of thing. But yeah, so spoiler alert, it did go my way, so that was good on my behalf.
But we can
Looks like you just laid at the
can't
side of his
show
head
it
there.
this week.
Break it to the
Hey.
side.
I try to knock him out either way I can. So, if it's not lined up right, it's still going to hurt.
I say you're giving them that whiplash one way or another.
Right.
Well, it was more of a club than a lariat.
Well, still a great night. Still was on the winning end of things. Let's see here. Also that night, Kowalski kept his title, which is the classic heavyweight strap. So it looks like I still have Kowalski to look forward to, because hopefully I get another shot. Now, it did come at the expense of Joe. This Michaels showed up during that match and slid in a chair that Kowalski used on Joe and was able to score the pin victory from that. Let's see here. If I can remember correctly, the tag team champions, which is Curtis Wilde and Billy McNeil, retained their championships. They went against a team of Richard Shaw
And Shogun.
So it's a weird tag team to pair up, but nothing that Curtis and his partner couldn't handle.
Sometimes when you get in the funk, though, you just kind of got to mix it up and see what works.
Yeah.
Speaking of Shogun and Richard Shaw, not the other two.
We had a couple of rookies who started off.
Yes. So the Ace Academy pretty much started the show off. We had Drake Kwan and our other students. I think he goes by KJ or KI but they went against Ethan and Waco, which is my old tag team partner. But Jaquan and his partner got the job done there.
So looking at Cade posted a little highlight videos. Cade Maxon and Waco versus Killian Kane and Kaylin Tillman.
There you go. So it was always a great honor when your students can perform and perform. They did.
Good job.
Yeah, heard good things about Jaquan and Caitlin. Man, I butchered his name.
Caitlin. No Kate.
Caitlin. Whatever. But it's always good when the students can kick it off. But let's see here. Gary Jackson had a match.
Speaking of students kicking it off, we are having some of Bobby's students kicking off the next March 1st show. Getting in some youngsters.
I mean, I knew you guys were asking the idea of it. I didn't know we were doing it March 1st.
Remember I told you next show and then closer to Little Devils charity.
Well, I knew you were asking about it. I didn't know that was an official thing.
Yeah, I had it all set up before I talked to you.
All right, well, I'll have to talk to some wrestlers.
I did not know it was going to be on the March 1st show, but you got a month, Bobby, to talk to your guys.
They'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be. And most of them are in the audience anyway, right?
Quite a few.
It'd be fun. It was fun watching them do, jump in the ring beforehand. So,
Right.
and New Breed is going to steal our idea. So they already came to me and asked me if they could steal it. I told them, go ahead, as long as you use the Little Devils.
Oh, I don't think the Little Devils want to go all the way out there into New Breed.
Money's money.
I said I can bring 3.
Yeah.
I got. Well, one of them's out, and one of them's Belleville East High School now. But I got 2 that live in my house.
Okay, no, sorry about that. I just saw the segue and had to throw it in there.
Sure. Steve Fender had a match. Actually, had 2 matches that night.
So your dog doesn't even like Steve.
He did not like that match.
And wasn't Gary Jackson defending a belt? Wasn't there supposed to be a different person challenging for the belt, Gary's belt?
Well, so the January show kind of messed up a whole bunch of people's invites, and I'm not too sure if there was a person that was supposed to be there but couldn't make it. I'm not the booker or the promoters, I don't know, but I do know Steve Fender took it on. Now, Steve, do you guys remember who he wrestled first? Did he wrestle Joey, or did he? Because I know Joey had a match.
Yeah, I believe he wrestled Joey.
Okay.
I have everything. I can check that really quick.
Well, either way, Fender was able to defeat his opponent on this first match. I don't remember who exactly it was, because I was in the back trying to get ready for mine. But then Gary Jackson went out and was talking about not having an opponent for the night. And
No, Joey. There wasn't Joey.
Well, who Joey wrestled?
Peyton.
Oh, yes. So, yeah. So Joey actually ended up getting hurt. Ended up getting his shoulder hurt. I can't remember.
I was gonna say, I didn't see him after the show. Usually we talk, and I didn't see him at all. Did you go to the hospital?
I don't think he went to the hospital, but I know we didn't see him the next day when we normally get together and have our first session of TV tapings.
The myth, the legend, Jason Breed and Steve had their match.
Yeah. Now, so it was actually Jason Breed's birthday weekend. So that kind of put a damper on his birthday wishes, I guess you would say, because he on Facebook had declared that he was going to win and he was going to celebrate his birthday with his family members who were in the audience. He had a bunch of his brothers and his family there. And unfortunately, Steve Fender got the win, got the victory over that. So put a little damper on things. And then, like I said, Steve, right? And then, Steve went against Gary. And Gary is the current holder of the AIWF title. It's not the world title, I don't think. I think it's the national title, right?
Yeah, I think it's national.
I'm pretty sure it's the national. But I think Gary retained. I do know there was a lot of stuff going on in that match, but I think Gary did overcome Steve Fender to retain that title, which is great. Got to give props to Steve Fender. He is a well-trained, a great wrestler.
Harley Race trained him, didn't he?
Yeah, Harley Race trained him. And, he's been a multi-time WLW champion, which now is part of the NWA. So I think I heard this show coming up, which is this Saturday, is their next WLW show. And I think that's when they get the new titles, because their titles are switching to the NWA branding. So that's going to be definitely cool for them. Brandon Beretta is on that card, and so is Attila Khan. So it's two opposites there, but they're going to be on the WLW card, so that's going to be cool. Might take the family out there to watch that. But yes, so a lot of things happened. Of course, I didn't do the Royal Rumble like I was supposed to because I wanted to come to SICW and wrestle there instead. No, just yeah. I mean, you guys did see me. I was number 31 in the men's Royal Rumble.
Yeah, right after a cutoff air.
I did the match for SICW, and then WWE flew me to Indianapolis so I can do the Royal Rumble.
It's like a 3-hour drive.
It's a 4-hour drive. But
is it that long?
Yeah,
I thought it was under 4. I've drove there before.
So it's actually, I just made that drive Friday. So I was in Indianapolis. I just wasn't there for the Royal Rumble. I was actually there for WrestleCon. And WrestleCon was very cool. It's not the one that's like, it's a fan fest, but it wasn't like the fan fest that I went to Indianapolis last year for. This one was set up the same. There was no wrestling. There was a tagged with it last year. Well, that fan fest that I went to last year is coming up in a couple months. But this one was set up to go alongside with WWE. So they had a lot of legends, and it was free to the public. So you can just walk in there. There's a bunch of booths that was selling merchandise. A bunch of the legends were out there signing autographs and stuff. Very cool. But we'll hit that up a little later during the toy segment. But good news and kind of bad news we got going on for WWE. We'll start off. Yes, it was the Royal Rumble weekend, and Royal Rumble is always one of the best shows that WWE puts on. Like we talked about last week, it's the road to WrestleMania. Basically, it starts that night, and we did have some surprises. And the pay-per-view did start off with the women's Royal Rumble. And there was some surprises in that. Alexa Bliss was in there. Charlotte Flair came back. Nikki Bella came back. Trish Stratus showed up. Jordan Grace showed up. And we talked about her last week, how, she just signed with the company because she was the women's TNA champion. But she just dropped that title and signed a multi-year deal with WWE. Now, everyone, kind of expected she would start off in like NXT because she did do some prize visits with NXT, but and they haven't really said where she's going to land. But it was kind of cool to see her get thrown right into the Royal Rumble. Of course, I actually picked a friend of mine that I've known since childhood asked me before it started. He goes, I want your picks. Who's going to be the women's champ? Who's going to win the women's and who's going to win the men's? Totally got the men's wrong, but I nailed the women's winner, which was Charlotte Flair. Now, with her, John Cena, this is supposed to be his last year. And he is going for a 17th title. And according to WWE, Ric Flair is a 16-time champion. I know we talked about it. It's actually like 21 or 23, but according to WWE, he's a 6-time champion. And this whole year, John Cena is going to try to beat that and get a 17th title because he's tied with him right now. But someone else who is tied with her dad is Charlotte Flair. Bobby, you can fact check me on it, but I want to say she's a 16-time women's champion. And so this year, too, she can actually beat her old man. According to WWE's statistics, again, according to Ric Flair, I want to say he said he's a 23-time champion.
Was Ric Flair drinking?
Huh?
Was Ric Flair drinking when he said that?
No. We went over it before that the NWA didn't account for a few times that he lost and wanted, like he would go to trips to Japan and he would drop the title to someone, and then before he came back home, he would win the title back. Well, the NWA just didn't count that at all, so they never counted that he lost.
So if you, depending how you want to break it down, she's won the women's title 6 times, SmackDown's women's champion 7 times, NXT women's champion twice. And then if you throw in like her tag teams and other stuff, it's a total of 17.
Well, don't
Now
want to
she
throw
is
the
someone
tag.
that gets a record of divorces with her dad.
All right, so what? 6-time women's, 7-time SmackDown, so that's 13. Yeah. And then how many times NXT?
Twice.
Twice, so she's up to 15. So 2 more times, and then she can beat. Well, 1 more time, and she can tie with her dad, and then she'll be on the radar to beat him, which kind of only seems fair. That Ric Flair, Charlotte Flair, same family, but Anyway, the guy who asked me for my pick, and as soon as I said Charlotte Flair, they were like, "Oh no one really likes her," and it shows on Monday Night Raw. She came out and she just got booed. It wasn't Hulk Hogan booing or who's that? Paul London, or what was his name? Logan Paul. Did I get it right? Logan?
Yeah.
He got booed really bad too. But it wasn't that type of booing, but she did get booed. But yeah, so she ended up winning the Women's Royal Rumble. And then they had, they only did 4 matches, I think. Kind of like Raw.
You guys think that's going to be, because that's been the average, is only 4 for a 3-hour, 2.5-hour show.
Well, the Royal Rumble is normally 3 hours, and granted, they do have 2 big rumbles in there, but it seems like 4 matches is their go-to now. Because yesterday for Monday Night Raw, there was only 4 matches as well. But for the Rumble, Cody Rhodes defended against Kevin Owens in a ladder match. And Bobby, I know you said you only watched the men's Royal Rumble. You need to watch this ladder match because there is crazy bumps in it, and not like high-flying stupid shit bumps, but bumps with a ladder. And I would say that this ladder match was even better than the Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon ladder match, because they did take some crazy risks with those ladders. So it was a great match, and at one point in time, I thought both of them were just extremely hurt, and at different times you would think, oh well, he's done, and then he would get back up, and then Cody would be down, and you're like, no, he's done. That move was crazy, because they both took some bumps outside the ring, in the ring, often in the ladders, and I do say in the ladders. Crazy match. Probably should watch that one. I will spoil it for you though. Cody Rhodes does win it, but great match to watch. So you should probably go back and watch that. Tag team match that I thought was really good. DIY went against Motor City Machine Guns. I've always liked the Motor City Machine Guns from TNA. And I also like DIY. DIY is tag team champions. They actually won those belts off of Motor City Machine Guns. So it's kind of like a return match. But DIY was able to pull through and retain the titles, which is great. Another, it was a really good pay-per-view. I really, and I kind of wish I would have sent Nathan. I kind of wish I would have sent you a clip of the men's Royal Rumble, because they did have some people AJ Styles returned. Joe Henry, which we talked about last week, that I assumed he was going to be in it because he just became the TNA champion. Let's see here. Speed, which we talked about. Speed is the guy's name that is a streamer on YouTube who has millions of viewerships. Or
He's a headache.
yeah, he's just crazy. But so
Took some
throughout
big
the
bump.
match, man, that's the part I wish I would have sent to Nate. But I don't know. WWE probably would skin us alive for using it. But
Because they still watch.
yeah, so there was a wrestler that got hurt before he made it to the ring. So Triple H sent this guy out to take his spot. And so he went into the ring. Of course, he's not a wrestler. He's just a YouTuber or an internet sensation type guy. But so he stood in the middle of the ring and he got a cheer because he was able to do a backflip. But at the same time, Braun Breaker, he was running the ropes, and he's known to hit these ropes at a fast pace. And he hit these ropes, and Speed just turned around. He wasn't paying attention. He just turned around, and he just got picked up and tossed. I mean, Breaker just ran right into him, gave him a spear. And I tell you,
and it wasn't even a normal spear like straight on. It was a little bit to the side too.
Yeah, so this kid took a massive bump, because he doesn't know how to bump, doesn't know how to protect himself, and his head just bobbled against the mat. It was crazy. It was pretty good. I really liked it. And then Breaker picked him up, threw him out of the ring. Of course, there was another wrestler there that caught him.
Otis.
Yeah, and then he threw him backwards onto the announcer's table, kind of just like it.
That's what I remember telling my son. Like, that's some underrated strength that Otis has, because he did a fall away slam there without the actual fall. That was all in his arms.
Right.
No body momentum in it at all, just straight overhead.
But it was awesome looking, because normally when they have someone from the outside that comes in, that person normally has superhero powers and is able to defeat a wrestler or do some damage to the wrestler. This was done right. This kid didn't know how to wrestle, got thrown into the match, and then got his ass handed to him.
I mean, he told Triple H before he went out there, "I'm not ready."
The clip of this kid getting the spear has over 300 million views. Yeah, well deserved, because Nate, you need to search this clip out because it is great. And this kid, like I said, he probably got whiplash in the ring from his head bouncing against the mat so many times, because Breaker has this speed on him, and when he just picked him up and slammed him like that, it was just great. But yeah, so on the Royal Rumble, Jey Uso won. And, I've talked bad against Jey Uso here lately. But, he's got 15 years in. He never really won a singles championship. Always been a tag champion with his brother. So this is he's so over with the audience that it was a no-brainer to let him have his time. And he beat John Cena, because it came down to John Cena and him. And he was able to maneuver. Both of them were on the outside of the ring, but not on the ground. And of course, the Rumble, both feet have to hit the ground. But he was able to maneuver himself where he got back into the ring and was able to push John Cena out to get the win. But, I got to give him props. This is finally a time that WWE is pushing him. Not saying that he's going to win a championship, but he does get a shot at WrestleMania. He can choose between Gunther or he can choose against Cody Rhodes. Totally up to him. But I've been dissing him here lately because I think he gets winded before he gets down to the ring, and then he has to wrestle after he gets winded.
I mean, it was a really long entrance ramp again.
Yeah, incredibly long. And, he's got to do his whole little yeet thing, which is, a weird little dance that they do. And he does it for a long period of time. So he normally, I would get winded just trying to do it. But I don't know. I still don't think he's like the best wrestler in the world. But, they seem to be finally pushing him at least. So it's his time to shine. So it's his time to either let us down or show that he deserves it. So going to be up to him. Let's see here. Again, only 4 matches for Raw. It started out with Jey Uso, and he gave a good heartfelt.
Before we go there, did you see Cena's post-Rumble interview?
About him going into the chamber, or?
Yep, and saying it's what's best for business is for him to beat players, and so that's why he's declaring.
Yeah,
I'm calling it now, though. He's going to go for the TNA heavyweight title to break it.
That would be weird. It would be cool because so far WWE has only sent the NXT people down to TNA.
That would be huge for TNA, and he's all about charity.
That is true. That would be cool if that were to happen. I'll have to admit that. Let's see here. So it started off, Monday Night Raw started off with Jey Uso coming down. Like I said, he gave a heartfelt speech. And then Gunther, who is the champion for Raw, came out and pretty much demanded that he challenge him for it, for his belt. But of course, Jay said, he's going to go to SmackDown and talk to Cody Rhodes and feel out and see who he wants to, wrestle against. Ludwig, how do you pronounce it? Ludwig went against Penta. Stop. Anyway, they had a very good back and forth match. I didn't even put down who won. Charlotte Flair came out, gave her speech. Like I said, she got booed. And then Rhea Ripley came out and challenged her basically. Now it's Charlotte Flair's right to challenge who she wants to go for. Either Rhea Ripley or, I don't even know who the champion is on SmackDown.
I say that's who it's going to be anyway. It's going to be a rematch of last year's WrestleMania.
Right. I think so too, because this is going back and forth. So let's see here. Kingston and Woods went against Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee. Let's see here. CM Punk went against Sami Zayn.
That's what I'm watching right now.
Yeah, so that was actually a good match. I don't know if I want to spoil it for you then.
I'll go ahead, it's fine.
Okay, man, they had a banger of a match. So the whole match, CM Punk is telling Sammy that he's not on his level. He shouldn't be in a championship run. And their match was actually for a slot at the Chamber, which is their next pay-per-view. And it's just another chance for whoever wins that to get a title shot on the champion as well. John Cena's already been put into it. Triple H says John Cena put so many years in this business that he automatically deserves a spot in it. So he didn't have to wrestle for his spot. He just got put in it. And this match between Punk and Sammy was for the next spot. And great match. Both times, either one of these guys could have won. But it came down to CM Punk winning over Sammy. Before CM Punk left, he turned around and shook Sammy's hand and then went to leave. But out comes Kevin Owens, pushes Sammy into Punk. Punk goes out of the ring, and then Kevin Owens just beats the piss out of Sami Zayn. Now, if you look at Kevin Owens is black and blue from the ladder match, from the Rumble. I mean, his eyes all, busted open. Whole face is this black and blue. It looks very crazy. But I think this is going to set up a Sammy versus Kevin Owens match. Maybe they'll actually end up having a match to get put into the chamber, or maybe they'll just have a singles match against each other. But
hopefully they have a ladder match.
Yeah, be kind of crazy.
Their ladder match in Ring of Honor was awesome.
Oh yeah, when he was El Generico.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Liv Morgan went against Evo's guy, and that match again getting interrupted because Raquel came out to help Liv. And then Rhea Ripley came out to beat her up and ended up hitting Liv, which got the other girl disqualified. So not too sure if they announced that Liv Morgan was going to advance or if it was just going to get thrown out. So probably should look that up to see if that happened. But WWE announced a new TV show. Now, we just went over this last week about the new shows that was coming out. And, the new show was LFG, which was Legends Future Greats, which is going to be hosted by The Undertaker, Booker T, Bubba Dudley, and Nick Aldis' wife. Mickey James. But they announced the same type of show that's going to come on Roku. And we talked about that other Roku TV show that was on. But it's going to be called Evolve. Now, I didn't know this, but WWE, there used to be a promotion called Evolve Wrestling. And I've seen it a couple times because a couple current WWE stars came from that show or that promotion. Well, WWE bought the name. I don't know if they bought all the rights to everything else, but they bought the name. And on March 5th, they're going to come out with this show. Now, we talked about the WWE ID, which is where they find independent wrestlers that they like, and they don't want to sign them per se to a roster for like Raw or SmackDown or NXT, but they're going to give them a contract to where they can't sign to anyone else, like an AEW or TNA. They can work independent shows. There might be some money involved, but it's pretty much just saying, we like you, we want to sign you, but you still got to go through the system. Well, this TV show is the system for them. So it's called WWE Evolve, and it's going to be for those guys that are WWE ID members. So it's going to be kind of cool. So like the first one, the LFG, is going to be those ones that they hand select to come into the system and work as like a Tough Enough, where they train you and they pick a winner at the end, normally give them a contract. Well, this is already contracted independent wrestlers that they already had their eye on, and they're going to put them, but in the same kind of concept. It's still going to be a contest type of thing, where eventually one of them or two of them will win contracts. And I'm assuming it's going to be probably NXT contracts because they still got to work their way through the system.
Where's it supposed to air on?
What?
Is this supposed to air on network TV or Netflix? Or
Roku. It's going to air on Roku, so it's free. Anyone can download the app or watch it on TV.
It's on the Tubi app, which you can get on Roku, is what it says on here. So,
I I think that's great because I kind of wondered what they were going to do with these guys that they labeled WWE ID members.
They'll debut on March 5th.
Yeah, March 5th.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, and I like shows like this where it being a contest. I think this one's going to be better. I mean, I'm going to watch the LFG as well because I like the tough enough type of atmosphere to it. But this one's going to be for like advanced people that's already done independent wrestling and know what the business is about. So that's cool. I'll be definitely watching that one.
So according to WWE's website, they give Liv Tyler the win, or Liv Morgan, sorry, not Tyler. Liv Morgan the win by DQ.
Okay, so she gets advanced. She advances. Now for the bad news for WWE and for Brock Lesnar. So in that case against Vince McMahon, what was her name? I had it wrote down here.
We talked about her enough. We should remember.
Janelle Grant. So, Vince McMahon had recently posted that he won a verdict, and that was for, and not that he won, but the verdict came down, and all he had to do was pay some fines for mishandling WWE funds. That's what he got fined for. And then he had to pay some money back to WWE and then pay the fines to, I forgot whatever legal organization went after him.
Yeah, but that's just antitrust stuff for the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission.
Right. That had no effect to the Janelle Grant case. So since that part is finalized, now Janelle Grant can go on with her lawsuit. And so it states that she now has come out and legally put Brock Lesnar in this lawsuit. So now it's, John Laurinaitis, Vince McMahon, and Brock Lesnar that's going to be in this lawsuit. So we will probably not see Brock Lesnar back in the WWE or UFC because TKO wants nothing to do with Brock Lesnar while this case is still active. So that's one thing that's hurting the WWE because it puts their name in a bad spot. The other thing, since her case has come out, another case has developed, and this is a case that everyone who's been a wrestling fan knew about. They knew of the happenings because back in the 80s they had a scandal about ring boys where they would some of the head honchos in WWF, I guess at the time, would bring in local boys to set up the ring and thing. And some people got fired over it, and then Pat.
Well, they put him into jail.
Well, I don't know if anyone actually went to jail over it. I think some people got paid, again, some hush money. But a lot of people got fired. A couple people got fired. And then Pat Patterson was one of them that got fired, but he also got rehired shortly after the scandal went away. And everyone said that he was part of this. Now, he's not named in this, and he has since passed away as well. But there's 4 survivors, as they're called, and they've joined together. And so there's another lawsuit, but they're going after Vince, Linda, TKO, and the WWE. Now,
TKO had nothing to do with it.
TKO has nothing to do with it.
Right. So this lawsuit is out of Maryland, and Maryland's code says any if place gets bought out, then they're still reliable for a situation that happened in any time period of that other company. So
I
even
think
though
TKO will go to federal court for that. I mean, Maryland's law is, in this instance, stupid.
correct, I mean, I think so as well, but it's not a federal thing; it's a state lawsuit, and so Maryland is holding TKO also not responsible but liable for damages. But this is the first time that Linda has been put in the mix. That's like a first time there. So Vince, Linda, TKO, and the WWE. So that's putting another shadow on WWE. But if you've been a wrestling fan or knew anything of wrestling, you knew that was out there too. And something that was brought up was, and I don't know if this is going to come back to bite him in the ass, but there was that lady ref back in the 80s too, that was paid hush money by Vince McMahon. Now,
well, she was trying to break her NDA agreement before
right,
the Supreme Court said NDAs are not valid.
now this
But again, hush money is not illegal. The illegal part is paying it out of WWE.
Right. So the Janelle Grant case talked about this other girl, and this Janelle Grant case wants them to break all NADs if they lose, if Vince McMahon loses. So if he loses his case, then who knows what is hidden in his closet. We only know about a few of these NAD suits that was settled. So it'll be interesting to see if this breaks, because there's speculations that a lot of male wrestlers was persuaded to do things to keep their careers going. And
we've all heard the stories. I mean, especially hanging out with the legends. We've all heard those stories now.
So
how many of them are actually going to help prosecute that? Probably slim to none.
Well, see, that's what's going to really depend on this Janelle Grant case. Because if they can pull that off, then these other wrestlers that had signed these NAD papers can come out and blast them again and, get their own lawsuit going. So it's going to be interesting over the next couple months, because this case, I'm sure, is going to drag out. That's what they always seem to do. So it'd probably take a year or so for this to get settled and out in the open. But her case can start a whole bunch of other cases. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. But it definitely puts a black spot over WWE.
I hope the Ring Boys get what they deserve as far as compensation. I do think them adding TKO in just because of Maryland statutes is going to turn it into a multi-year thing, because TKO will take it to the Maryland Supreme Court and then to the Circuit Court. The Circuit Supreme Court above that, where it will end up going federal. And I just see that one taking. I think they should drop TKO and just keep it with WWE, the McMahons, and that's it. It might shave 2 to 3 years off their suit if they do it that way, but I don't know. I'm not in it, so I don't live in Maryland, so.
And I don't know if he can sue WWE without suing TKO, though, since TKO owns WWE. So that could be a reason why they're in there.
Yeah, but WWE is its own entity, being publicly traded, so they can't.
Well, again, I don't know all the ins and outs of that thing, but definitely crazy. And but that's pretty much it. Really no news on AEW. I didn't have time to catch up on them. The only news on TNA that I know is that Joe Henry, their heavyweight champion, was in the Rumble, so that was extremely cool. And if you want to start your new little picture with the voice, we'll wrap
Do you
this
want to
up.
talk about Worldwide Tech CEO, the Raceway Worldwide Tech CEO getting honored by Glenn Williams, or you want to pass that up and go straight into the toys for time's sake? Up to you.
Well, we'll just run through it real quick. So, was it the president of president of Worldwide?
Yep.
Okay, so the president of Worldwide, his birthday, he was going to have a birthday party at the January 1st show. Of course, we canceled that show. So, they celebrated it Saturday. And celebrating it, they brought a cake out, and it was kind of like a celebration for Herb, celebration for them. It was Herb's 52nd year being a promoter. It was that gentleman's birthday. So they did have this huge cake as well, but Glenn Williams brought his own little cake and tried to interfere with the celebrations, which kind of backfired, as you'll see.
Well, announce those dates at the March 1st event right here. We'll make it all official. Wow, there you go. Let's hear it for
Okay.
you.
And I don't know if you'll be able to hear it here, but he comes into the ring and the fan tells him it's not all about you, and he's like, I don't even. Basically, he says it's all about him without saying it's all about him.
Well, he flat out said it was all about him, because he said if it wasn't for Glenn Williams, said if it wasn't for him, NASCAR wouldn't be there, NHRA wouldn't be there, Indy wouldn't be there, and the Raceway wouldn't be on ESPN. Because unfortunately, Chris did let him in the booth during the NASCAR event to do some talking. And I guess it kind of went through his head a little bit.
Now, what do you want? I think I'm going to regret this.
No, you won't.
I will.
No, you won't.
Here you go.
I won't.
Well, you shut up, all right? The star of the show has the microphone. Shut your mouth. I found out there's a birthday party going on and Big Nasty wasn't invited, which is crazy. So, if you don't mind, gentlemen, thank you. What do you to the party? Yeah, Herb, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm upset about it. He's used to that. So, here's the thing. I know that you and I haven't met. Happy birthday. Can you shut up? I'm trying to have a moment here, folks. Hey, not everything is about you guys.
That's what I'm talking about. Not everything's about you guys. I mean, I'm going to go in there and make it about me.
Because Worldwide Technology Racing, we've got the partnership. You guys are smart enough to bring the star of the show into the booth, which is me, not you idiots. They didn't ask me to do an interview with an HRA. They asked me. Hey, Brandon. They asked me. And do you know why? Because I'm the star of SICW. Yeah. Hey, it's the truth, Herb. You didn't have these shows lined up until I was on the roster. It's a fact. And I found out, let's see, NASCAR, the playoffs. You have that coming next year?
That's right.
Yeah, because of me, you're welcome, dude. Because of me. Yeah, NASCAR looks like that Big Nasty guy's got a lot of promise and potential. So we need SICW. Okay? The fact is that I just wanted to come out here and I wanted to give you some well wishes for the opportunity. You're smart enough to let me get in the booth, and I just wanted to tell you, personally, from me to you, happy birthday, Chris.
Hey! Whoa! Whoa! Whoa!
You were.
You didn't see that, but somebody on this podcast chased him off stage.
Well, the racetrack's always been good support for me. Like, he is a good fan and whatnot, and I always try to support the fans. And once I heard that was going on, I made sure to come out and make an appearance and get into it.
The best
Yeah, that was
note
great.
about that
And I
situation.
misspoke earlier. I said he was in the booth for NASCAR. He's in the booth for the drag race, NHRA.
Well, the best part of what came out of that scenario is the president there announced that we are going to go back there for a few more dates this year. So, regardless how Glenn likes to think it's because of him, SICW is a well-known company, and her being a promoter for 52 years is what got us in the door of this worldwide technology.
So it
Yeah,
wasn't
not
Glenn?
just a normal NASCAR race. We're going during the NASCAR playoff race.
Yes, so definitely moving up the notches at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. So it's gonna be great to come back there, regardless of what Glenn says. All right.
Next segment.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Fourth segment.
So, as I said before, I went to WrestleCon on Friday. They were lined up. Everything, when WWE hits your town, every wrestling company likes to hit that town as well. Because that particular night, Friday night, you had Friday Night SmackDown, and you had 8 other wrestling companies in town holding events. So that's kind of crazy. Everyone's trying to get a little bit of that money. WrestleCon was really cool. It was open to the public. There was no tickets to buy. Now, of course, once you're there, it does cost for you to meet the legends and get a picture or get an autograph. There was some independent wrestling figure companies, and there was High Spots there as well. High Spots was selling a bunch of AEW stuff and WWE stuff. But there are some independent wrestling companies. One of them is Matt Cardona's company, and Brian Myers. He's a part of that too. They're called the Major Bendies. It's a podcast that is on YouTube as well, where they go around picking up personal stuff for their own toy federations, as they call it. But they also make their own figures. They make the big rubber guys, which has got the likes of Dusty Rhodes and Harley Race. They just did Demolition. They just did the Warlord. And those actually compare to the same size as those LJNs that I collect. And they said that they started this because WWF let them down, because these are guys from the 80s that should have had their own figure in that line but never came back out. So they also have Ric Flair. Like I said, they have Dusty Rhodes, which was there, and I wanted to pick it up, a Dusty Rhodes, but I kind of went to some of these other independents. I did pick up one figure from the Major Wrestling Bendies line, and that's because I went to meet this guy, which is Joe Henry, which is the guy that was the TNA heavyweight champion who was in the Royal Rumble. I met him. It is the only guy I wanted to meet. Ric Flair was there. Sting was there. Demolition was not there. Ricky Steamboat, Arn Anderson, Honky Tonk Man, the Dudley Boys. And it was just a bunch of, Bob Orton Jr. was there. A bunch of great legends. Some of them didn't want a whole lot for their autographs and pictures. Some of them wanted $100 for everything. So, like Sting and Ric Flair, they wanted $100 for an autograph, $100 for a picture. Kind of crazy.
Let me cut in there then and promote the Cauliflower Alley Club, because Sting did them for $50 there and donated the money.
Yeah, so I don't think Cauliflower Hour Club has announced any major guys this year, but I'm sure they'll just be right around the corner announcing theirs. I know the Waterloo, Iowa started announcing their guys. I know Eric Bischoff is one of them. He's going to go in this year.
Cool.
But yeah, back to WrestleCon. So I got to meet him, got his autograph on his figure and took a picture with him, and he was very cheap. You know, he is just right there in the middle where he's got he's contracted to TNA. WWE is pulling him too to try to do some shows with them. So, you know, he is right at the cuffs. He's kind of like Brandon Beretta. You know, he's almost there. He is almost at the big leagues. But this was his first figure that he's ever had. And you can still get this one today. But I thought that was cool to get his first figure and autographed by him. Like I said, a lot of independent toy companies were there. This next one I never heard of. It's called Russell Something Rustlers is the name of the toy company. If I had to, what I've told you many a times, I don't really collect new toys or new wrestling figures unless they're made about the old guys from the 80s. So this one I picked up, which is Macho Man Randy Savage. And they've done a few other ones. They've done the Headbangers, Colt Cabana, Effie, the Patriot, Marcus Bagwell, of course Chelsea Green as well. But this Macho Man I thought looked really cool. And it's kind of like the size of like the Hasbros that WWF put out. But yeah, pretty damn awesome. And then I also picked up another Macho Man. The same booth was selling him, so I just assume that they're selling, you know, figures that look like Hasbros and selling figures that look like Jakks. But I also picked up their other version of Macho Man. I thought this was pretty cool, and I love Macho Man. You know, top three hands down: Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man, and Hulk Hogan for the baby faces. Even though Macho Man kind of back in the 80s was both. You know, he was one that could work either way, and you still liked him.
I think with Andre. Andre the Giant was both.
Yeah, that's true. And, you know, LJNs, the ones that I mainly collect, they made 3 versions of Andre the Giant. I've only got one of them right now, but I'll be on the lookout for the other 2. And then I think my favorite pickup was another independent toy company, and they're called Epic Toys. I think there's another name down there. But the other toy that I picked up is a dual pack of Demolition. Let's see if I can get a little closer without the glare.
Oh, they have the mask in there too.
Yeah.
Head switch.
Yeah, they have head switches. So you can put the ones that have the face paint, which are currently on them, or you can take those heads off and put the ones that have the mask on them. But
So do you have the first series? Because it says 1 of 500. So there are only 500 being sold, and you have the first edition?
Yes. So a lot of these independent toy manufacturers, they don't want to go crazy and make thousands of these figures because they don't know if, one, they have to put all that money out for them to be made, and they don't know if they're going to sell. So a lot of them make small shipments. That way, if they don't sell, they're not out a shit ton of money, and then their toy company collapses because they didn't sell anything. You know, Matt Cardona talks about that a lot on his podcast, that he is actually going to try to make bigger lines, like they have a Macho Man out. And that Macho Man it's the same pose, but it's in 3 different outfits. But that's because they can take that mold and make it 3 different times in three different outfits to make more money off that one mold, because it becomes cheaper for them. And he was talking about, you know, they only do like 1,000 of the figures, but he's talking about doing more, so that way it'll be cheaper on him because he buys it in bulk has it made in bulk, and then he can sell it cheaper. Because if you buy one of their big rubber guys, it's $50 right there. And that's just so he can make enough money to cover the cost of everything. And then he gets a small, portion. But so it's kind of like everyone who supports small local businesses. Instead of, supporting a McDonald's or a Hardee's, you support a mom and pop shop, to eat. And it's the same thing with these. These are small independent companies. They're not a Hasbro. They're not a Jack specific. They're not with a couple other ones. I don't remember who AEW is made from, but it's not these big toy manufacturers. These are just people that want to make figures of people that they idolize, and they're able to do it. I like the back of this too. This back looks freaking awesome. Now,
man, it looks like you frame it, put it on your wall.
Yeah. Now, both of these guys have come through SICW. I think it was our Halloween show that they came through.
Spectacular. Yep.
Yeah,
In fact, I'm going to be posting from that show next week on the Spooktacular.
I've met them through SICW. I met these guys through. They did the Waterloo, Iowa last year. So these are great guys. I was with Herb Simmons at his booth last year, and his booth was right next to their booth. And so we were bullshitting all night together. Because when they do their fan fest, it's a little bit different. They will do like 30 minutes prior to a wrestling show where you can come in and meet them and get their autographs. And then they put on a wrestling show at the same time. So during intermission, you can come back and talk to them. And then a little bit after the show as well. They don't separate them like most people do. Most places, they'll have the wrestling show after everything is done and over with. We do it the same way, where we'll do the fan fest during the day, and that night we'll have the wrestling show. Well, they combined it, and they've combined it the last 2 years that I've been out there, because I've been lucky enough to be put on their cards for the last 2 years. But so yeah, last year our booth was right next to theirs, and I was able to bullshit with them, and that's my favorite thing to do. But back in the 80s, this was WWF's Legion of Doom, basically. NWA had Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal. Vince McMahon loved their gimmicks, so he created their own and made it Demolition. Now, some people say Demolition was great on their own, and I agree with it. Demolition was great on their own. There was a time period when both Legion of Doom and Demolition was in WWF, and then they made Legion of Doom better than Demolition. But I thought they were both a great tag team. And these figures, I mean, the details that they put on their outfits and everything, the studs, this company did great. So I was happy to pick this up. I was happy to give my money to these smaller toy companies. And I was really glad and excited to meet Joe Henry, because like I said, it's just his time where it's his time to make or break his career. WWE is giving him the platforms. He's been on NXT. He's now been in the Royal Rumble. He just became the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. And right now, since WWE and TNA have announced that it's a multi-year deal, that they're sending people back and forth, I can just see him eventually, when his contract expires with TNA, that he will jump into the WWE. He's got a theme song that he wrote, and it hit the top of the charts. You can buy it on iTunes.
I've heard that thing so many damn times with him spinning it out on Instagram. So much. I had to block it. Just that damn song. It went out so much. I
But
like the guy. He's a nice guy, but that song, nah.
you know,
It's a brain grenade.
I walked around WrestleCon and I was wanting to film it, but as soon as you walk through the doors, there's a sign that says, "Please no filming of the legends," because they want you to actually, get charged the money to have your picture taken with the legends. So I did film a couple of the figures that High Spots was selling because they were all autographed ones. Matter of fact, I put it on my TikTok of they had a bunch of turnbuckles, and these turnbuckles were autographed. And, they had different prices on them. And then I found this one turnbuckle that was $140. But it had the pattern of the Four Horsemen on it, and it had Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and Lex Luger. They had J.J. Dillon, and I think there was one other guy. He was the one that replaced Ole Anderson.
Arn Anderson.
No, his name was already there, and I mentioned him. He is the father of Bray Wyatt.
Rotunda.
Yeah, but Barry Windham had his autograph, and the price on this thing was $140. And I was like, man, I gotta fucking pick this up. So when I went, I recorded this, and then as I was filming another part, this other kid grabbed that turnbuckle. It was only one. And I tell you, when I followed this guy around, because if he would have put that back or put it down, it was mine. And he ended up going to the register and trying to buy it. And they told him, oh, no, we got the wrong price on this. Someone must have pulled a tag from another one and put it on this one. Because literally their price tags was held on by sticky notepads. And that's how they put the prices on. And so I seen the guy, the worker, grab it from him, put another tag on it, and put it back on the shelf. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm growing. I went over there. The price tag now changed to $400. I was like, well, it's going to stay there. I was not going to spend $400 on that. But it was definitely worth $140. I tell you that. That was a no brainer. I was going to pick that up. I mean, hell, Sting there was charging $100 for his autograph. So $140 to have Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, and everyone else. That was no shit. I was going to pick that thing up. So I posted that on my TikTok, and I posted one of the figures that they had autographed. But yeah, it was a cool show, cool event, and it was only I think it was from 11 to 5 or 11 to 6 or something like that. And on this guy here, I seen his line, and last year it was all about the Hardy Boys, and it still was. Hardy Boys was there, and their lines were long. But Joe Henry's line was longer. I mean, it wrapped around this freaking building just to meet this guy. And I didn't go to him right away. I wanted to see what was there. So I, explored the place for a while, and then I decided to get in the line. And when I got to meet him, he was extremely cool. And I asked him, I said, man, I know you've been out here all day. I said, are you tired yet? He goes, no. He goes, this is the time of my life right now. He goes, I enjoy this. And that's what you want to hear. This guy has been signing autographs for 5 hours and meeting everyone, longest line. And he was still excited and there was a long line after me. And he was still so excited to meet every one of his fans. And that's how it should be. I posted a thing on Facebook that a fan wrote about me years ago. This is back when I worked Broadway. He wanted to meet me after the show. He does like little news articles, and he wanted to meet me and kind of throw some questions at me. And I was the main event that night, and I think I was the champion. And that night, I ended up losing the belt. And he thought that since I lost and I was the last match, that I was not going to take the time to meet him. But I came down the stairs because it's a 2-story building. I came down the stairs out of the locker room, met with him, and it just made his day. And he wrote about it. He goes, even though he was the main event and his match went so long, and I can't remember how long it went, and he lost his title, he still made the time to sit down and talk to me. And he wrote this whole article about it. And it just makes you feel good that, the fans, you can brighten up their day or their week or their month just by taking that few minutes out and talking to them. And that's what this guy was doing. He's having the time of his life right now. He's so close to making it to WWE. I'm sure he can taste it. And he's just enjoying the moments. But that's what I did this weekend. That's my collection. Bobby, did you get anything new since it's the first of the month?
No, it's not in yet. My weekend was just filled with wrestling of all kinds.
Oh, I bet. I bet those kids are keeping you extremely busy.
Yeah, it was East had a meet against Edwardsville Friday, and then Saturday I coached a JV tournament. Then our show Saturday night, and then our TV taping Sunday.
Yeah. And Nate was telling me before we went on air that he also bought a toy, but he forgot to put the batteries in it, so he didn't get to use it. But he will eventually, and he'll let us know how it works out.
Is that the buzzing sound I keep hearing?
Well, I mean, you guys on Saturday, you guys were saying as much as you loved it that I should give it a shot. So I figured, hey, since you guys like it, might as well. I mean, come on, Bobby. You had Glenn's hand on your cock for, gosh, like 30 seconds. And that's why you keep him up there, because his hand is pointed right there. That's why you don't let him down and suplex him, because you like to hand that.
Oh, I like what I like. No judgment.
Got to give him a joy buster now. We're so late, there's going to be no kids watching this part anyway.
All in all, great wrestling weekend. It was great watching wrestling, great performing in wrestling, great collecting wrestling stuff. Definitely a great weekend. And I guess there's nothing else to say. Thank you guys, because you increased our subscriber amount again. You guys have just blown the doors off the numbers here. There was a time that we were begging for 500, and then we got to 600, and we were like, holy cow. And then we got to 700. Yeah, and now we're up to what you say, 734?
Well, 733, because we had a pretend fan.
And that's fine. You can join.
I'll see where we're at now.
I can't please everybody with greatness.
Nobody likes greatness.
It's great that
we're 733 still.
It's great that you guys are finding us, for one, and two, subscribing, and you're watching it, because our views on our stuff is going through the roof as well, besides our subscriber count. We do have one more mountain to climb. With your guys' help, we would like to get up to 1,000 subscribers. We talked about it last week that seems to be the magical number that we can start doing other things with this account, with this show. And so we just need a little bit more push from you guys. If you can help us out, share this with your friends and your family, and don't forget to post this on your Facebook or your X accounts and stuff like that, because all that will help. It's surprising how many people don't have everything, and some people only have Facebook, some people only have TikTok, or some people only have the X or Instagram. So share this through all the platforms, because some people, that's their only platform that they use. But definitely thank you guys for doing this. We've taken this show that, we basically are doing for ourselves, and helping local talent that we bring on, like Brendan Beretta, or Joey's been on here, Jason Breed, and from other territories. The Golden Boy has been on here. We've had multiple people, and next week we're going to have a big surprise for you guys. I'm just going to let the cat out the bag. We pretty much got it locked in, but Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, his son Travis, we have reached out to him, and he's agreed to come on to the podcast and talk about his father. His father's a legend. Mr. Wonderful, he's another guy that went from being a hated heel, teaming up with Rowdy Piper and Bob Orton Jr., going against Hulk Hogan and Mr. T, and then switching and getting on the side of Hulk Hogan, and him and Hulk Hogan tag team for a while against Rowdy Piper and Bob Orton. And then, he had his WCW days. But we're going to put out some footage of him in Wrestling at the Chase. Yeah, so we're going to air some of those matches before he comes on. And then we'll probably show it, in the background while we're talking to him and interviewing him. But I think this is very cool. He's only done one other podcast that I know of, and I watched that last night. And there's some follow-up questions that I have for him that this guy that I watched didn't follow up with. And so I think it's going to be very cool. And just to know what it was like to have a legend of a father being your father, basically. And, he talked about how his father used to do promos with him in the car rides, where they would do promo contests against each other. Because back then, they weren't handed a script and say, hey, here's your script, go out there and spell it out for the fans. They had to come off.
Show. No scripts.
Yeah, no scripts. You go out there, you speak from the heart, you talk to your fans, the crowd. And Rowdy Piper, we talked about this before, where Rowdy had a notebook that he carried with him, and anything that he could come up with, he wrote it down. Again, because wrestlers have a bad memory, and so they write it down. And then Paul, he would just do little promos on his son, and his son would do it back to him. So it's going to be a very cool episode next week. But yeah, so that's going to be cool. That's coming out. We're going to get some other people lined up. Danny Dollar is coming back, so we're going to get him lined up on the podcast. And he's from the Tennessee area, so he's another one that we're pulling from another organization. So in the comments, if there's a wrestler that you would like us to get a hold of, if it's a local guy or a guy from a different area, or even a legend or a legend's son, put that in the comments, and we'll try to make this stuff happen, because we're, just like Joe Henry, where he's in the middle of being really big, we are in that spot too. We're so close to the 1,000 subscribers that will make us a bigger company, a bigger program here, bigger channel. So a lot of things could be in the pipeline. We got FanFest right around the corner. So who knows who we can actually try to get on. Or even for that, we've been talking about going live for a while. So that way we can interact with you guys.
So that kind of cool. Studio stuff, right now schedules are crazy, but we'll narrow it
down the pipeline. So all this stuff is going to happen. It'll be great. So just keep doing what you're doing, liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing. All this will help us out. So you guys got anything else?
Nope.
I don't think so.
Stay on for a second after this, but from everyone from the Squared Ring Podcast, thank you, and we'll see you next week, hopefully with Travis Orndorff. Have a good night,
Gonna
guys.
keep his pants on this time, right?